If our podcast is helping you with your mental health, Zach and I would be so grateful if you could hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts. It's a simple action, but it really helps a lot. Thank you. On the first day I walked into Zach's therapy room in my hometown of Dublin, Ireland, I was one seriously lost dude. I had no direction and no real knowledge of what I needed from life. Zach told me that he'd help me to find my authentic self, whatever that meant. 3 years later, I had made some serious changes, and Zach even helped me to get sober.
When I first met Stephen, he was a very lost soul, and I wasn't even sure to what degree the platform of therapy could help him. What followed was a journey to which I had the privilege to be part of, as I watched this young man dig deep and disrupt his old behaviours and beliefs. He eventually walked out of my room a changed man, and I believe he did find a more authentic self.
So despite all of my healing and growing, it's not over, because I'm back for more. This is one man
and his therapist. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's been a while. It's nice to speak with you.
You too, Zach, you too. I've been shouting for a voiceover job this morning, so my voice is a little raspy.
Well,
hopefully I sound okay.
Maybe raspy will get you the job.
I had the job. It was for an army game, a combat game where you have to shout. Not advisable.
All right. Well, not advisable to do it 40 times in a row, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Tell me, what part of the world do I find you in today?
Yeah, we're still in Sicily.
Right.
It's been beautiful weather, but yesterday was very stormy. It was kind of nice and cozy. We lit the fire. This morning the sun is back out, and Mount Etna went hiding for a few days, and now has come back out and is completely covered in snow, and it's beautiful actually.
Wow. Tell me what travel and these beautiful alternative backdrops that you get to experience, how does it aid or help your self-care or your development in self? How do you think it contributes?
It's a bit like your psychic, Zach, because one thing I want to say before I answer that question is we did say the last day we'd start on the word balance and finding balance between work, life, and everything else. But I'll come back to that in a second, because it's important to answer your question. And the reason it's important is because it may seem, to the outside eye or whatever, that, Rebecca and myself are living the dream. And to an extent we are. Like, we're really blessed. We're living this life where we have the gift of mobility. We're not tied to anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's pretty phenomenal. Like, if you told me that the first day I walked into your office many years ago, that in a number of years you'll have this amazing freedom, I mean, I'm really blessed, and I don't discount that for a second.
Yeah.
And the gifts are amazing in terms of how I feel in my own head. Like, I have a nomadic soul, so I think, and I was brought up moving around. So for me, I feel very well adapted to it, as does Rebecca to an extent. However, I think both of us are feeling a little lacking in anchorage, and a little lacking in, the future is so open for us that it's almost dangerously open for us, in the sense that, in particular with Rebecca, I'm kind of comfortable with it, but Rebecca's starting to feel really unnerved by it. Where are we going next? We spent a year in Romania restoring the apartment, and, really, truly realized we have no desire to live in that town where the apartment is, Rebecca's hometown. So we have this great investment property. We have a place to go as a refuge, but we don't want to live there. So we're very kind of up in the air right now.
Yeah.
And So how is it for me, in answer to your question? Good and bad. But I think as a human being, we do need community, and it's in our DNA, and I think that's what we're lacking right now.
Okay. When Rebecca says, "Where are we going next?" in one way, I hear her saying, and this is just my own interpretation, why are we going somewhere next? Um, Sometimes when we're journeying, when we're at that point in our lives where you guys are at, where you have that freedom to travel, you reach a point where the travel is unto itself a wonderful freedom, but then the brain starts asking the question, but what's the purpose? What's my
Mm.
purpose? And then your purpose becomes part of the why or where are we going next. It becomes purposeful. And then that begins to dictate or at least interfere with what would be your normal, just nomadic travel plans, you know? And of course, you two are in a relationship where both of you are on sort of different dials when it comes to um, your connectedness, your anchoring that you talked about. Because rarely are two people at exactly the same place at exactly the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm not in any way forgetting what you well remembered, which is the topic of balance. But just to sit beside the topic of balance, let me ask the question: um, where do you feel you belong right now?
Um, Personally, and I can only speak for myself in this because, and it kind of contradicts what I just said in a way,
Good, good.
um, but personally, because of my own journey and where and as an individual, as not a married person, as an individual, I feel like I belong, and this might sound a bit wanky, but to the earth, to the world, to the planet, and I feel very free in that, and I love that. I don't feel like I belong in Ireland, that's for sure. I love France and I loved living there. I might go back there sometime. We are thinking maybe early next year we'll go and live in Paris for about 6 months and see if it suits us. But honestly, I feel like I belong to this. I've always hated the idea of borders and imaginary lines drawn up by human beings. So, you know, it goes against who I am to feel like too belonging to anywhere. I love Ireland. I do feel very part of it, but I don't feel like I belong there necessarily. Does that answer your question? Is it a bit
Oh,
out there?
it's certainly your answer. Yeah. Let me give you an angle on it.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than contemplating the answer on the basis of location,
Mm-hmm.
look at the idea of where you belong from the point of view of just human connectedness.
Mm-hmm.
Because typically, people's where people feel they belong is where their strongest sense of belonging is where the love is at its strongest,
Yeah.
typically. So, from that perspective, where do you feel you belong?
Well, I would say Rebecca and I have always said that we are each other's home, which is
Mm,
a nice thing that we have, a beautiful thing that we have. So I do feel very at home wherever she is. But of course, apart from that, I do feel most at home, I suppose, in Ireland. I feel like, you know, that's where my 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 family of origin is. That's where, you know, and however kind of upset my immediate family has been over the last number of years, kind of shaken about. It's still, yeah, that's home in so many ways. But of
yeah,
course, Romania as well is a new home with my new family. But yeah, so both places and anywhere at the same time. But I
yeah.
understand your point, and I understand that. Yeah,
But
we.
I also hear the accuracy of your answer, which is you name your wife as your most anchoring, most connected sense.
Mhm.
And what a lovely phrase. We are each other's home. I mean, that's such a beautiful phrase, and encapsulates a lot about you two in that one line. So yeah, where the love is the strongest, the belonging is the strongest. So it sounds like you two could travel anywhere, and as long as that quality of relationship is there between the two of you, you certainly with your nomadic mindset feel you can be okay. Um,
Yeah.
I would suggest that at times puts quite a pressure on a relationship. Um,
Yeah.
would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, look, I would quite readily admit that, and I mean, you're always great at offering me perspective and telling me not to be so hard on myself. But I think I have a fair understanding of who I am, to the extent that I am a bit strange in 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 kind of how I go through life, and it's, you know, it's a product of the very kind of unique way I was kind of uh, moved about as a child, and all these different elements that happened. And so for me, like literally, I am quite happy as quite a solitary creature, and then coming, especially since I got sober, um, and even in my drinking years. I mean, I much preferred drinking alone. So even, you know, that's an interesting insight. But I'm very happy to be on my own for very long periods of time. Rebecca, however, is not, and that therein lies the kind of big issue right now, is that um, she's very much missing community, very much missing the ability to just flit off and meet whoever she wants to meet at any point and do whatever. I don't, I genuinely, and she thinks I'm weird because of this, but it's just who I am. But she thinks it's really strange that I'm like not craving this connection with other human beings, but I just don't. And that's, you know, it may be that I am missing it. It may be that, you know, I would be better with it, but I don't actively miss it. I don't go through the thought process of, oh God, I would love to go and see Jim and go to the movies right now, or go and have a non-alcoholic cocktail. Do not have that desire. It just doesn't enter my head. Whereas she is completely the opposite. She's a social butterfly. So
And is it a case where it's not in your desire, or it's something you feel quite allergic to?
no, I'm not allergic to it even. I mean, I probably went through a period of feeling allergic to being social.
Mm,
However, that was kind of more in earlier years of sobriety, um, and and even then, I was actually making the effort. But no, I don't think that's even fair on myself. I have been fairly socially active throughout the last 6 years of sobriety, but um, yeah, so I'm not allergic to it, but I, but I am certainly I do benefit from having Rebecca in my life in this regard, because if it wasn't for her, I probably would be even less social. So
yeah, yeah. And you wonderfully described yourself as strange.
yeah,
I'll quote another strange man, Mr. Wilde, Oscar Wilde. He says,
yeah,
be yourself, for everyone else is taken."
yes,
Um, and
one of my
yeah,
heroes.
indeed. So I like the way you describe yourself as strange, with an underlining sense of pride as you describe that, which is good. I can sense you embracing and uh, taking on that identity for all that it brings.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, I also hear that needs the tribe more than you do. She needs the community, so
Hmm.
she's more typical from that point of view, and I'm sure that's tough for her. Um, you most people struggle with isolation. A lot of people struggle with it. Others encourage it, embrace it, nearly sit in the comfort of it. Uh, and if you look back on your childhood, if you think back to your safe place as a kid, where was safe? Um, for some, the safe place was an isolated place, somewhere where they were content and happy, on their own.
Hmm.
Where was your safe place?
I mean, immediately what comes to mind when you mention that, image wise, is the bedroom I had in Dundalk
Mm,
growing up,
yeah,
um, from the age of 10 to the age of 20, and and I spent many hours in there on my own, very very happy.
very happy. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and or out in nature, on my own with
Mm,
my dog or whatever else. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a hermit, as you know, but yes, I completely, when you said about people finding their safe place as, you know, younger people on their own, my something lit up in my brain. I wanted to respond straight away because yes, I identify completely. Um, I feel I like being on my own. I just do, and those
You
hours of being on my own in my bedroom, I loved whatever way I was conducting my life. I was playing computer games, watching the TV in a very strange way. I had a very old TV with those buttons you had to press on the TV. You know, those kind of poppy in out buttons.
yeah.
And I used to have like a snooker cue attached to a bamboo cane, and I used to sit in the bed and poke the buttons to change them from the other end of the bed. But like all those
I
things, I had my own little universe in there, you know.
You did with your caveman remote control. um, Stephen, you're sounding 110 years of age for describing that. Of course, you're not. But it goes to show how technology has changed so fast, oh my lord, uh, in a
Yeah.
relatively short space of time. Yeah, but you describe a very, very content, a very sweet setup. You know, you on your own, doing your thing, the happy boy by himself in his own imagination. You know, getting out of your head in a happy fantasy type way, you
Mhm.
know, making up stories, exploring the self. Um, yeah, and as you say, you're at a stage now in life where you can still embrace that isolation. You still like that. But of course, you have Rebecca by your side most of the time. So again, there isn't even that true isolation. You have company. You just
Yeah.
don't need 4 or 5 of them. You're happy with one. Which leads us into balance. And I suppose for your own life and for the relationship, you know, uh, balance is vital. And but I want to look at balance and look at how we perceive balance and as to what it is and how it can be at least partially achieved. When we put the word balance out there, just tell me what's popping to mind. What do you think of when you think of balance? What's your perception of that word, that idea?
Um, I suppose it's you know, it's there's a I suppose balance equals contentment to an extent. It equals um I remember I may have mentioned this before, but I remember Matthew McConaughey, who I like sometimes for certain things he comes out with. He has a certain kind of unique wisdom, and he talks about having the spinning plates of life, and um, he's like, I got my life plate, and then I got my work plate, and then I got my exercise plate, and I think he has 5 plates. And he's like,
Okay.
if I let one of those plates fall, then everything goes, you know. And I like that thinking. I don't think that I have all of my plates spinning in equilibrium right now. I feel like I'm standing next to my work plate and spinning it vigorously while the other plates kind of totter um, unsteadily. However, since I came away with Rebecca, the marriage plate has certainly started to pick up a bit of speed again. Um, but you know, yeah, I'm not spinning all the plates, and I'm definitely spending way too much time on the work plate. It's obsessive and it's unhealthy.
And when McConaughey uses that analogy of the spinning plates, which is one I use myself actually in my work because I always my image of it is the clown or the performer in the circus with the 10, 12 spinning plates running up and down the line, keeping the energy going on the sticks to keep all the plates in the air. And as you sit in the audience at the circus watching this, your intrepidation, you have that on edge feeling of, oh, is one of those plates going to go? Is it going to smash? Is it going to break? Is it going to fall? And inevitably, at some point during the spinning plate act, typically one plate falls and breaks. You know, it doesn't always get it exactly right. he can't spin all of the plates all of the time for the 12 minutes of his act. He, pretty much gets there 95% of the time, but sometimes there's a breakage, there's a failing. And I think when that happens, the audience is very sympathetic to the idea of, yeah, but sure, he can't be perfect. I think the audience is understanding of the lack of perfection in such an act. And I think in our lives, we have to allow for breakage. Plates drop. We can't keep the spinning going. And the balance of that is something that just needs constant readjustment. And you talk about balance, and you said, I think balance is contentment. I would throw back to you the idea that being content is only ever a temporary experience. And that we have, if we're lucky, we get to achieve moments of contentment during our day, but many other moments of other feelings. So contentment, happiness, anger, being turned on, turned off, all of these feelings are temporary. Everything is transitory in our feelings. We can't say, I had a great week. I was happy all week. At every moment of the day, I was happy all the time.
Yeah.
If you said that to me and pitched it in a serious way, I would think you were mad. People would go, he's crazy. Because people know, and they know deep within themselves, all feelings are temporary and just a flitting moment. And you hope to have a fitting moment of giggle, happiness, joy. We also hope there's a fleeting sense to our sadness. We hope that passes too. So when you say contentment is what comes up for balance, okay, I hear you, being content. But are you with me? My point about the temporary nature of the feelings?
Yes, I hear you on that. And it makes a lot of sense. And it's it's very good to be reminded of that. However, I don't feel like you're completely hearing me on when I'm telling you that it's a very serious issue that I have when it comes to this addiction really to work. It's like I feel like I've said it a number of times now through our sessions, and I feel like it's not being recognized as actually something very serious, because I feel like it's a new, and maybe it's my own fault for not really emphasizing it enough, but I feel like it's literally like it's a new alcohol for me,
Wow. Okay. Is there a sense that I've played it down, or just simply not heard you enough?
No, I don't think it's nothing to do with, it's nothing personal on our, on how you're hearing me. It's more, it's just, I guess I think I haven't really flagged it enough, actually. We talked about it very early on in the resumption of our sessions, but we haven't really started to address it in the way that feels satisfactory to me. But it's an ongoing process. But it is very serious, actually.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, you have certainly flagged it now. Good. Okay. Good. You've given it the weight that it needed for me
Y-
to sort of sit up and pay more attention. So great.
Yeah, but also, it's important for me because to speak to you in this way to an extent, because
Mm,
not in a way where it's like rude, but it's a big deal for me to be able to be forthright with you without I'm always, even even in our times together and historically, I always want you to be pleased with me,
yeah.
and I
Yeah.
always want you to like me. So it's important for me, and even just saying, my blood pressure went up, even just saying, I don't think you've recognized something,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
so it's kind of a double importance in this regard. I'm saying something in a forthright way, and I'm also helping you understand where I'm at with this.
It's great. You're being authentic. You're pushing the realness to the to the forefront of your mind and your behavior. And I
Yeah.
hear you. Your blood pressure rises with that little bit of tension within you that maybe you're saying something that's less than complimentary or less than agreeable to the
Yeah.
person
And it
opposite you.
goes back to boundaries as well. It
Mm,
goes back to, am I going beyond a boundary? I don't, I still don't know where those boundaries are properly,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So,
And for what it's
anyway,
worth, your blood pressure went up when you said it, and mine didn't budge.
really? That's
Oh no,
amazing.
yeah. I mean, as in, I went, oh, interesting. Oh wow, this is important. In my head, I went, oh, this is important. Come on, Zach, dust yourself down, pay attention. And so, at most, what you did was sharpen my pencil in that moment to what you needed. And that was it. And now we're in. Now you've appropriately brought the focus and spotlight to something that was important to you that wasn't getting that spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. So within the conversation of balance, we're really talking about the hyperfixated, unhealthy way in which you have used work as a compensatory mechanism to cover or protect other things within you. So let's spend some time on that.
Yeah.
Um, let's start with the upside. Being so committed to your work in this over the top way has least brought what benefits? Why don't we start with a positive?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's brought, what we started the conversation with today, about it, it's brought this life of freedom. It's brought, to an extent, once we get out of this. Oh, by the way, looking better with this debt I spoke about the last day, which is good. So, it's brought about an ability to pay back debts. It's brought about an ability to have quite a nice life, actually, and to own a property, all these great things. So yeah, there's lots, and also on top of the financial element, it's brought about a huge sense of self within me, a great satisfaction of following through on what I started out at, in my early 20s doing, following a life as an actor. It's not exactly as I planned it to be in terms of acting, but it's very much within the world of acting, and in many ways it suits me better, being a kind of solitary creature, to be in this voiceover world. So yeah, the benefits are amazing, and it's like every day is a new little dream come true in so many ways.
Great. Every day, a dream coming true. Wow, fantastic. So you've paid the price though for that.
Mhm.
There is a payoff. This is where the imbalance is, and you've said that in in the work obsession, your relationship has suffered, and I hear that. But tell me, alongside the relationship, um, has any other aspect of yourself suffered? Your physicality, your spirituality? Is there to add to the relationship damage? Is there other damages that have been caused by the new work obsession?
Yeah, well, I think the fact that my work comes through my phone, right?
Mm,
So I'm on a freelancer app that, I have quite a big profile on. So a huge amount of my business comes through there. Then also my YouTube channel is a big part of my income, and again, that's to check on that. It's through an app, um, and that element of that phone being in my life has stolen a huge amount of my peace, my sense of inner peace. Um, and I'm just thinking back to the time, to give you some reference, like the time before I started this freelancing work and I was doing tours around Dublin and stuff. I remember when I used to finish the tour, and the tour would last 3 hours, walking tour of Dublin, and then I'd go home to my apartment in Island, or my house in Island Bridge, and next to the Phoenix Park there. And, I was switched off from work at that stage, and I was so happy. I'd spend, if, and I was with Rebecca still at that time. And, if she was at work for the evening, I'd spend my evening watering my plants or doing yoga, like doing really good, intense yoga, where I'd get really sweaty for like an hour, or I'd, watch a really good movie or whatever else, or cook a really beautiful meal. And
So
I
you
wouldn't think about work whatsoever,
so you would go through a very healthy period of self-care
Yeah.
after
And
the workday. Okay.
yeah. And it's not to say, and look, I was very, again, I'm going to sound like I've lived a very charmed life, but I think I kind of have, to be honest. Like, but not, but because I worked hard towards these things, I earned these things. And that's a big thing for me to say. I earned these things. I earned the ability to be able to walk around Dublin for 3 hours, make enough money that's, someone else makes in 2 days and go home. I earned that because I worked my ass off in life to get to that point. And it, all it was a walking tour of Dublin, but it was great. And it afforded me that beautiful free time then to really focus on myself, focus on growing further, all those great things.
And
Um,
you, and just to say, you did what a lot of creative people are unable to do. You commercialized your talents. You commercialized your creative actor, performing, writing skills.
yeah.
You did what so many don't do. You actually said, "Okay, I've got lemons. Let's make lemonade." And you
Yeah.
went and you made lots of lemonade, and you continue to do it now.
Yeah. Well, I,
And
I don't
you're right.
fall. I don't fall victim. I had in the past, and I did, and then I realized I couldn't afford to any longer. I stopped falling victim to snobbery, basically, snobbery about where we use our abilities, because and I see my acting ability as a universal ability. It's not specific to being on a stage or being in front of a camera. It's specific to how do I get through planet Earth with the gifts that I've been blessed with, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and so that's how that's why I see everything coming back to this gift. But just to finish in answering how now my life is affected by my work, it's always in my brain, Zach. It's always there. And the phone is always there. However, thankfully on this trip, I've been pretty good at not engaging with the phone too as much, but I don't immerse myself in those deep, switching off sessions like 1 hour of yoga or whatever else I'd used to do in the past. What I'd be to give you a real hint as to what you can tell me to do, because when you tell me to try a test that really works, like for example, the last session you said don't watch something while you eat for till the next session, and I passed with bar one meal in the last since we last met, so
Fantastic.
I'm good at meeting tests.
Yeah.
So set me a test and it will really help me.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Indeed. We'll decide together what an appropriate challenging test is for you at the end by the end of session. We'll brainstorm and explore a little bit more first.
Okay.
What was the upside of having of enjoying your meal for the sake of the meal without phone distraction? What came out of that you can report back here?
Well, like on a very basic level, and more of an appreciation of the food, more of a mindful kind of recognizing of what I'm eating, and we've been eating quite a bit of fish, being here in this part of the world, thinking about the fish, um, that type of thing, and then on a more, and that was honestly maybe split seconds, but on a more kind of life enriching level, although mindfulness is of course life enriching. Engaging with Rebecca, very obvious to say, but just more simple and lack of craving something other than the food. We had a very, I don't know if I've seen you since, but we had a very magical evening. I haven't seen you since. It was the Sunday just before last, and Mount Etna was erupting, and it was dark, and so it was, and we put a table outside, and it was a warm night, and we sat and had dinner watching Mount Etna erupt.
Wow. Wow.
And it was like, this is
Wow.
this is a moment you're never gonna forget. Like,
Absolutely.
who
And now,
needs YouTube?
and I'm also, Stephen, having this horrible image in my head of a person out there in the world who manages to sit at a table close to Mount Etna and ends up missing it because of their smartphone.
Yeah.
I mean, how
Yeah.
horrific would that be? As
Well, I'm
they
not going
write.
to lie and say I didn't film a bit of it,
Well, that's okay. Yeah, yeah, I
but
understand.
I didn't watch a YouTube video while I was,
Yeah,
you know.
indeed, indeed, not that bad. But what a lovely moment. Yeah, and yet only a moment. Then that's gone. That's
Mm,
gone too. But yeah, very, as you to use your phrase, a very enriching experience.
yeah.
Great to hear that, over dinner you can talk more. And, I think it's good to get back to practicing with our eyes, because so much of our phone activity takes our eyes away from people as we looking down all the time, always looking down. Um, when you're hopefully continuing your meals without a phone. As you can move forward and you can enjoy the fish for a second, you can have momentary appreciations of the food at a deeper level. But as you say, more importantly, the conversation with your partner is better. And within that conversation, remember to lock eyes, watch her, you know, your eyes have become so trained to dip down, look at the phone, looking down at the plate. Get back to some really, really enriching eye contact, because
Okay.
it's a very enriching thing to do, to get back to using your eyes the way you used to, engaging, flirting, connecting. That dynamic. Our eyes are so important for that. Just keep that in mind, please, as just an additional piece to the phone-free meals. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, so now back to our broader topic of the work addiction, and your struggle with it. So we acknowledge that you've already done better, that you are managing to put the phone away that little bit more. But Stephen, tell me, would you recognize this, that you can, let's say tomorrow you can decide between 12 and 3 you're going to be phone free, that you've worked out your work hours, that you'll work in the morning and you'll work from 4 to 8, and therefore that's your 8-hour day done, so you're going to be free in the afternoon between 12 and 3, just as an example. Do you find that you can put the phone away for a number of hours, but that doesn't necessarily stop the internal narrative and the internal distractibility that can still go on even in the absence of the device itself, that you're still not turning down the dial within your head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't. I can't. I can't. I find if, like, for example, last night we were watching The Godfather 2, because it's a lot of it. Well, some of it's set in Sicily, so we thought we'd watch it. And I intentionally sometimes now leave the phone in a place where I can't get to it, like, what, comfortably. So I was lying on the couch, but I left it on the other side of the room. But then I heard it vibrate, and literally for like 30 minutes, I had the phone. What's on that phone? I want to see what's on that phone in my head. And again, it's not just about the phone, because I don't give a shit about someone, whether it's a text from someone that I like or love. That would be less interesting or exciting to me than something to do with work. So it's like, is it an email? Is it a job? Is it? And I guess it all fundamentally comes back to money. Maybe I'm just addicted to money, because when I see that I got a job, it's like, okay, how much is this job paying? And if it's a lot of money, then boom, brain lights up.
Yeah. You're self-employed.
Yeah,
Self-employed people have an unhealthy interest in their daily online bank account,
yeah,
because of that trepidation, that fear, that excitement, that dopamine buzz that one gets of ping, money
yeah.
comes in. It's
It's kind of
like,
gamified.
yeah, it's like slot machines.
Yeah,
And people out there with other lifestyles have their 9 to 5 job where every Thursday or on the 28th of every month, there's just one ping a month as their predictable wage lands into their predictable bank account, and they go
Mm-hmm.
about spending it predictably for the next month to hopefully budget well to do it all again the next month with one ping.
Yeah.
Well,
But is there something wrong with this? Sorry to interrupt you, but
Mhm.
is it wrong? Is it wrong to enjoy receiving reward for your work? Where's the line?
Well, we'll try and keep away from the idea of judging things as being right or wrong. Let's stick
Okay.
with, is it healthy? Let's just
Mm.
stay with that. And again, we're back to balance. First of all, it's unavoidable to a degree. You have to check in quite a lot with your accounts, your profile, your app. You know, we we must accept and acknowledge as well, or certainly I have to, that your phone is your phone line, your computer, your office, your PA, your secretary, your accountant, your marketing team, your everything, your recording suite. Like, your phone is your company.
Mm.
It covers, outside of your actual recording studio, it just covers everything to do with your job and your income. It's very important. And where others might be just flitting around on social media apps, wasting their life listening to inane one-liners from total strangers all day long, swiping, and chasing dopamigenic highs in their head, you have very legitimate reasons to be on the phone. So it's particularly difficult for you to get balance and to manage this addictive type behavior. So I just want to acknowledge that this is tough for you. It's not easy. Not only emotionally is it difficult to put the phone away for a while, on a practical level, it's also really difficult as well, just on a practical day-to-day level of the work. And of course, your work and boundaries, like people clock in, clock out, and go home at 6 o'clock. I know you can be in your studio at 11 o'clock at night,
Mm.
headphones on, recording chapter 3 of one of your wonderful bedtime stories. Um, and that's fine for you. You're nocturnal. You're a night owl. You like working outside of the norm. So again, that's part of sort of the chaotic brain uh, that's trying to find boundary of some type. But as you say, you're strange. you're, you're you're not typical. So there's a lot of variables in how you manage the self. There's a lot of atypical type of behaviors. So let's be kind to you. You're doing your best. Not easy. Um, but you're still saying to me fundamentally, Zach, it's doing me harm, or it's unhealthy for me to have such an obsessive connection with my phone and my work and the thinking around that.
Yeah.
Stephen, what's stopping you from going back to an hour of sweaty yoga, as you described earlier? Is it just the lack of discipline?
Yeah.
Okay. What's happened to your discipline?
Um, it's not that I don't have discipline, and it's not that I don't engage in other things. Like, for example, in Romania, I have a trainer 2 mornings a week for 1 hour, and he keeps me accountable, but only for 2 mornings a week. I'll sit and meditate for 20 minutes, but I don't know what it is. It's just, it's just, there's nothing stopping me, absolutely nothing stopping me from engaging. I don't know what's happened to my discipline in that regard. I do think that maybe it's a sense of overwhelm. I have so much work on. Can I put an hour away to just do that kind of thing? I think there's that. But then I can put an hour away to 3 hours away to watch The Godfather 2. So
Hmm. Well, then, have you just become a little lazy?
maybe, but
Yeah.
not in my work, but maybe in my life. Yeah,
Yeah. But working on your life is as important as working on your work,
very well said.
you know? Um, don't work harder on your business. Work harder on yourself. That's where you put the effort in the self. Business will look after itself if you're looking after yourself.
Okay.
So it's it's as important as getting that deadline for that new audio book done by Saturday 12 noon. It's as important to make sure between now and Saturday 12 noon you've done your pre-planned amount of yoga sessions, mindful sessions, whatever it might be, whatever the self-care is. But let's just up the ante and give the self-care the importance that you used to give it before. It
Okay.
used to have a higher priority. And I'd suggest the reason it had a higher priority in the past was because when you were in recovery from addiction, it's sort of the importance of the self-care automatically had a stronger spotlight on it, given where you'd come from.
Hmm.
You know where I'm coming from with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, the self care was, whether consciously or unconsciously, it was a replacement for the drinking, and it filled the void beautifully. Um, but now the drinking is such a distant memory, I suppose. Maybe I have less of a paramount spotlight on balancing out the lack of, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. No, it does make sense. Makes perfect sense. The further you're away from that threat, that fire, um, the safer you feel. And in the safety, we find apathy and a little bit of, personal laziness around, um, being alert and awake to what your needs are. But the great thing is, though, with you, we only need to sort of poke and prod you in one or two ways. And I know you'll go off now and you will lean in and try harder around one of our tasks and will talk to me next week and go, yeah, guess what? I did it. And you'll take on the challenge and you most likely will succeed in it because you're a successful person when it comes to taking on challenge and development. You generally come back with a very good scorecard around these things. And so that's a very hopeful piece, I think, for me. But I know that whatever adjustments you need to make, I think you'll do it, and you'll do it,
Yeah.
in a way quite effortlessly. I don't think this is climbing Mount Etna, right? I think this is just tweaking. It's just a tweak. That's all. Um, Now, to help you achieve more balance as quickly as possible, and so that next week you can talk in a very affirming way about how good a week you had and how you readdressed, the work addiction significantly. I'm going to say to you, let's look at the self-care in the past when it was at its very best and the elements that came into play. Your talk therapy, watering the plants, doing your yoga, mindfulness, food, whatever elements were there that you used for self-care. I want you to review and think about what were the vital self-care behaviors that really were the deal breakers to helping you keep balance, because they all have different scores on the scorecard. What do you think was the most effective piece of self-care?
Physical activity, really. It was either running or yoga. Yeah. They were the
Now,
ones that gave me the most high,
yeah,
natural high.
okay. So yoga's great. A younger yoga is particularly good because of the balance element, and the balance training is so great for your cerebellum and the brain and what that does for the mind. It's just really fantastic. But you just mentioned your running. Now, when you say running, as you mentioned that there, I'm brought right back to our work of a number of years ago. And I remember when you started a running regime, when you started, I think it was the Phoenix Park. What was your route? I can't
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
I'm just adding that in.
No, it
Um,
was.
you started running, Stephen, and it was so apparent in your sessions with me over that time that once you only need your legs and you have the joy of doing this running now in these beautiful, varied environments where your postcard backdrop is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mean, look, there's nothing, when it comes to producing that serotonin, that dopamine, I mean, running is just so powerful from that point of view. Probably only eclipsed by sort of by maybe weightlifting, which is sort of the data tells us is probably even better still. But the running's right up there. So let me ask you: are you on for taking on the challenge of introducing running back into your self-care as a way of tackling the top-heavy work brain that you're carrying every day, as a way of just sort of
Yeah,
readdressing the
absolutely.
balance? You on for it?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. I'd love to, and I'd love to set a kind of some sort of metric on it, because if I don't have a metric, then it's not as clear for me.
Okay, set one.
Well, I think that if I could do, say, 5K 3 times between now and the next time we talk, that would be a good way to start.
And 5K, 3 occasions between now and next appointment, which typically will be a week, right? Probably next Friday. Do you think that is, for you, is that gentle introduction? Is that you putting it up to yourself? Is that stretching you beyond what you probably can achieve, but you're going for it anyway? Give me an idea when you set that metric. How far up the dial is that particular challenge, 5K 3 times?
I can physically, it's doable, easy, yeah.
Okay,
Not
easy.
easy, but doable. And
Okay.
in terms of location, well, we have a very big garden here, so I can run around here, or I can get down to the beach. So should be
Or
good.
you can do the garden for the first one, the beach for the second one, and so forth, and shake up that snow globe and keep it interesting each time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No,
uh,
I'm definitely up for it, and I love a challenge like this. So
yeah, good. And the great thing is we sort of know the outcome already. It's such a safe bet. This is a safe bet for you.
yeah.
Money says that the report is going to be typically a positive one. And how positive will depend on how well you do. We allow room for forgiveness, or not hitting the target perfectly if the week ends up being a challenging one, or if life takes over and you do less than what is planned. But 5K 3 times over the next week, it's going to be very interesting, and it is going to be very helpful.
Yeah.
And rather than give you 2 or 3 different challenges, let's just stick with the one. Let's be pinpointed,
Yeah.
because also it's going to, because we could also say do 5K 3 times, do a session of yoga, and listen to one of my mindful audios, right? But then what will happen is we won't really be able to sort of review the data. There'll be crossover. We won't be sure which 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 element is really working the most effectively for you. So it'd be
Hmm.
nice to sort of take on individual challenges one at a time, and let's just score them separately and see, and then you can do combinations in the future. But for now, we'll just do the running and we'll see how that goes. All right.
Great, Zach. Yeah.
Great. Good session today. Well done.
Very good. Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Lovely talking to you. Talk to you next week.
See you next week.
Be gentle.
Thanks, Zach.
Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.
Disclaimer: the opinions expressed by our presenters are entirely their own. We believe in fostering an environment that values intellectual diversity, enabling our presenters to share their unique insights and viewpoints. It is crucial for our audience to recognise that the opinions articulated during the course of this programme are those of the individual presenters and do not reflect or represent any other individuals, agencies, or organisations. If you wish to contact Zach Powers, please email him at bergenpsychological.com. If you wish to contact Stephen, please go to stephendaltonvo.com.